You sit there alone, in front of this new magical box that can answer all of your questions. It has games, it has cute pictures of kittens. You can see sights that you only ever read about in books. You knew this was the dawn of a new age, and you could not wait to see what it had in store for you. You see the lush green landscapes with bright blue skies. On the horizon, there is a metropolis, clean and in harmony with its surroundings. You must be dreaming, you think to yourself. Everywhere you go, the buildings are filled with warm colors and a glass that always reflects the great blue sky. You revel in its purity. The furniture is bubbly and filled with curves, as if it bends to accommodate your needs, although you have everything you need. You can see the curves of nature reflected in the buildings, the technology, the chairs, down to the cleaning products. It makes you think of the shape of water. Is this what Atlantis looked like? Your flip phone starts to ring. Your friends are inviting you over to play this new thing that came out. It's called the Orange Box and it seems like a lot of fun. Nevertheless, you are ecstatic to get together with your friends. It adds even more whimsy to your blissful existence. As far as you know, the world is peaceful, and everything is in harmony. Music has become more accessible than ever. You have hundreds of songs on your iPod, completely unthinkable a mere decade ago. Technology is advancing at an exciting rate. You can't wait to see what they create. You sit down on a grassy hill and just breathe in the fresh air. You have no worries to speak of, no signs of despair. This is unbelievable. This feels so unreal, you think to yourself. When it starts to rain, you feel clean, and you can tell just by feeling the raindrops on your skin. This is what makes the grass so lush and green. The air is so crisp. Every breath was a gift from a nature that was revered. You can feel the harmony in the air. It fills your lungs with hope. As you breathe out, your worries get taken away by the wind. The sun shines at a brilliant brightness, illuminating the beauties of nature, while accentuating the shadows in such a way that gave everything a cutting edge. The beauty was unimaginable. Infinity is as blue as the sky. The world prospers, and so do I. We are in a realm of endless potential. The beauty of the world is evidential. The future shines even brighter than the sun. I can barely await to see the endless fun. The future is brighter than any earthly flame. The future that was promised never came. Why did I choose to talk about Frutiger Aero when it's been done already? Well, I think the way Frutiger Aero makes us feel says a lot about our current circumstances in life. These images, for me, invoke much deeper feelings than simply nostalgia. For me, they depict the living embodiment of a promise that was never kept. A promise that has been slowly building up for decades. Even since the 80s, there was always this aesthetic of futurism. I mean, look at some movies about our future, like Back to the Future. What do they depict? An idyllic, super advanced society that has multiple flying vehicles and clothing that was tailor-made for the consumers, while also retaining third places such as the milkshake bar. And look what we got instead. A bustling technophilic dystopia that actually took away some of our personal progress. Man, everybody misses those milkshake bars, including me. They were aesthetically pleasing and a great place to just hang out. Frutiger Aero is the ultimate vision that was started back in the 80s, the new millennium, the year 2000. It was so exciting. And the aesthetic of Frutiger Aero made it look like we were going in the right direction. We would get our flying cars and our flourishing nature. We would get all those cool and sleek designs that we were promised. The future was too good to be true. Frutiger Aero's human design with an emphasis on nature and progress was all a ruse. In the background, the government was working on AI that could surpass Metal Gear and that would definitely surpass humans. They started working on social media and how they could control their population. Think about it. After 9/11, the US installed a major surveillance program that invaded the privacy of millions of people, and it was only revealed due to the hero whistleblower Edward Snowden. How long would they have kept the program up if nobody ever said anything? Forever, probably. It's actually still going on as we speak, they just stopped hiding it. They've conditioned everybody to accept their loss of privacy. And this was all happening while the Frutiger Aero aesthetic was in full effect. They knew what they were doing. All of that was going on while Frutiger Aero was mainstream. It's just that everybody was blissfully unaware of what was happening. For example, ChatGPT didn't just pop out of nowhere in 2022. No, ChatGPT alone has been in development for a very long time now, probably as far back as the inception of Frutiger Aero. Remember how Siri was introduced to everyone? How she was this helpful artificial guide for your phone that had access to the internet and pre-written responses to your questions? Sounds familiar? They even made her voice female to make it more disarming, because a male Siri would just sound like that robot that wanted to kill the husband of a wife because it fell in love with it. Before AI was slowly integrated into everyday life, almost all media about it was very negative towards it, and rightfully so. It was a foreign intelligence to us that had the potential to be multiple orders of magnitude smarter than us, and it might see humanity as a threat. This threat is far less fictional than we might think. But those are just our bleak, current nightmarish aspects of our modern age. Let us go back to a time where at least things looked pretty. Frutiger Aero is, as I mentioned, the main design philosophy and aesthetic of the 2000s. It is also known as Web 2.0 gloss, but that term isn't used as often. Its main characteristic features are a gloss that is depicted through bubbles, glass, and liquids. An emphasis on nature, especially water and fish, but not just some trout or bass, no, exotic fish. Very bright lighting, vibrant colors, and usually a distinct lack of people. Of course, some images that are classified as Frutiger Aero may not have all of the characteristics that I listed, but you'll definitely know it when you see it. If you see an image and you could slap that bad boy onto a soap bottle or old Windows background photo like it belongs there, then it's most likely Frutiger Aero. The name itself was first described by Sophie Lee. She was part of the Consumer Aesthetics Research Institute. The term was named after Adrian Frutiger, the man who made the font Frutiger, which was very commonly used at the time. That's all you need to know about Frutiger Aero, since I have also hopefully provided many examples of what exactly this aesthetic looks like and what its general vibe is. As you can probably tell, it's aesthetically very pleasing, but why? I remember as a kid, I didn't pay any attention to it at all. It was just modern design for me, and at the time, it was modern design. But when you talk about modern design nowadays, it's viewed more as an insult rather than a compliment. Because modern design trends tend towards minimalism, such as minimalist art, or the fact that shrinkflation made everything tiny, brutalist architecture, and something I like to call advertisement core, where everything you see is either a hidden ad or a way too obvious one. Frutiger Aero's design philosophy goes directly against everything we hate in our current designs. Sleek, curvaceous architecture, maximalist designs and art, while also generally serving the people's needs instead of gaslighting the people to believe they need something they actually don't need. Let's take games as an example. Games from the 2000s era were released fully finished and polished, while containing a lot of hours of gameplay that could be enjoyed after a one-time purchase. No rampant microtransactions, and there were skins or different outfits for your character, but you had to unlock them with skill instead of money. Compare that to modern gaming, where multi-billion-dollar corporations try to make as much money as it is humanly possible and getting you addicted to games, rather than just focusing on making a good game, so that people will buy it. Or what about the music of Frutiger Aero? Sadly, I can't play any of it without YouTube sending a heat-seeking ballistic missile towards my location, but don't you miss the time where songs had bridges and structure? And you could tell they were written and produced with the whole song in mind. I'm not saying that there are no modern musicians that still do this, but they're not mainstream. Mainstream music has devolved into 30-second GarageBand preset loops. We went from Hips Don't Lie, Bring Me to Life, and in the end, to Baby Shark, Dance Monkey, and I can't even think of a modern song from 2023. It's not really my fault if the names of the songs are unknown and instead everybody just knows the songs as something like Linkin Park still goes hard, and all of the other crap TikTok audios that are out there will be forgotten in a couple years. Speaking of Linkin Park, the inception of emo scene culture was great. Now that I mentioned that 2010s era of emo culture, I think it was a result of living in a Frutiger Aero society where everything was squeaky clean and optimistic and wanting to express sadness when you're used to be happy. I think the Roar XD type of emo was a response to Frutiger Aero, so y'all heard it here first. Without Frutiger Aero, we wouldn't have its edgy brother, emo. Okay, yeah, technically it's Avril Lavigne emo, but you get the point. Because I know that technically emo goes as far back as the 80s and 90s, but the subculture wouldn't have been nearly as big if people grew up with a mainstream goth aesthetic or something. But music and emo weren't the only things that were better in Frutiger Aero. I think one of its biggest selling points was the technology. The technology during Frutiger Aero was a big part of the aesthetic, especially the UI designs and backgrounds. The internet was starting to slowly evolve into the digital, all-attention consuming, emotion-numbing behemoth as we know it today, and it was being integrated into everyday life. Ground zero of the internet. It was like the Wild West back then, let me tell you. There were a lot of different websites for various purposes because it wasn't a monopolized corporate entity back then, and these web designs were all over the place. From completely blue websites with unreadable fonts to some that would make your eyes burn, they became an iconic representation for the cyberspace that is still partially being used today. Notice the distinct usage of bright colors because not everybody knew how hex codes worked, and these designs weren't necessarily created to be appealing to the consumer. They just kind of went wild with it. Some designs were more function over form, while some had impossible fast spinning GIFs at the bottom that could potentially cause epileptic seizures in some individuals. These designs varied so heavily because pretty much anybody could just make a website that they had full control over. Now, companies did actually hire professional graphic designers. Well, at the time this type of graphic design was super new, but somehow they all agreed to make their logo designs and websites in the style of Web Gloss 2.0, aka Frutiger Aero. I mean, look at how neat that looks. Far superior to disgusting modern minimalist designs. Notice the immaculate gloss on a lot of them, giving them depth to achieve the illusion of being three-dimensional instead of just a flat painting. Even the logos of Frutiger Aero indicated that the sun always shined on them, the brightness highlighting the future of all media. If only we knew. Frutiger Aero was designed as if it was the brightest day ever, and everything had a thin layer of glass around it. Everything was designed to be marked tactile, and the rampant usage of blue and green would always remind you of the outside world, reminding you how great it is, instead of trying to lure you into your new terminally online life. This made so much sense for an operating system named Windows because you actually felt like you were looking out of a window. A window to another world. This new dimension that allowed for unprecedented communication. Modern Windows UI feels more like you're in a submarine because it's so dark and complex. I think the design of Windows gradually tells a story about how we went from a human naturalistic design to a design that was made for Discord mods, so you could use your PC all night without your eyes hurting. Frutiger Aero had no dark mode, because you weren't supposed to look at your screen 24/7. The Frutiger Aero UI design versus the modern one tells a story of how technology was meant to add to your life, not become your life, with constant reminders of how beautiful nature is and how vast and expansive this new digital age will be. Modern design tries to make you forget about the outside world, a form of escapism that actually forces you to escape reality, even if you're having second thoughts. The 2000s were a relatively peaceful time, with only the 2008 financial crisis souring our sweet experience, and the design philosophy of Frutiger Aero reflected that in its design. These utopian metropolises might actually be possible. I mean, look at the House of Science in Valencia. Yes, I know that it was finished in 1998, but I believe it's a real-life example of what our future could have looked like. With the expanse of blue waters and absolutely stunning curvaceous architecture. This could have been the first of many fantastical futuristic city designs, but we got the walkie-talkie instead. And it can melt cars. Awesome! That's what you get for being British. But the architectural philosophy for the builds did definitely change. From buildings being built for human needs, desires, and for beauty, to the more aptly named brutalist designs that took over with its emphasis on pure functionality, and it evokes feelings of you having to serve the building instead of the other way around. I understand that we live in not so peaceful times right now. In fact, there's a huge economic downturn as we speak. And the first thing that suffers during such events are luxuries, and art is considered a luxury, even though a life without art would be very depressing. So I can understand how we don't get to enjoy as many lavish, extravagant designs in our buildings and interior decor and everything that uses energy. But it still makes you wonder, what if Frutiger Aero never went away? I bet that we would respect nature more because of all the emphasis on nature and the aesthetic. It would remind people how important it is to keep it alive and healthy. Now, nothing is sacred anymore, and we are completely demolishing our planet for more foam cages and currency. The appeal to nature that used to be commonplace in Frutiger Aero has disappeared, so that the same old huge companies can decimate nature and blame it on global warming, which is apparently totally natural. Every day we stray further and further away from nature, until it will be gone and forgotten. Old Windows backgrounds will be the only evidence that cities used to have forests that were close to them and various animals that frolicked in the field. Now all we have in our modern designs is the infinite gray that will reduce your gray matter and replace it with the color gray. Nothing is sacred, so everything must be defiled. No more lush fields and glossy textures that reflect the sun. No, only the abyss is acceptable now. Accept the gray. Become gray. Our hope for a good future was used to breed the machines that are currently leading us to our doom. All of the futuristic designs, advancements in technology, and promises have led us to believe that technology is amazing and that it will only get better. Bigger cities, better music, better games, and more of everything. There was this hype being built up that everything would keep improving like it currently is. Who cares if we have to exploit our nature a little bit, give up some of our privacy, let them know everything about us. Anything for this future techno-utopia. The ends will definitely justify the means. But it never ended. They keep taking away our nature, our freedom, and our privacy, just for a slightly better camera on your mobile prison cell phone. Oh, you wanted Frutiger Aero to be real? Well, that's too damn bad! Eat your bugs now. And keep watching ads. Maybe eventually the promise will become a reality, but until then, you must pay for this progress, even if it's your soul. The design elements of Frutiger Aero have been used to portray this idyllic vision of the future to us, just so we would be ready to bargain for said idyllic future. We placed our bids, but it was all built on lies. There will be no dolphins jumping across the skies, no butterflies, no bubbles, no gloss, and no skies. The only thing you get is a bunch of lies. Huh. I guess that's how it is. But they could have at least kept the aesthetic. I mean, come on, it looked amazing. They didn't have to do anything with it. Why fix something that's not broken? Why did we abandon this style? Why was Frutiger Aero abandoned in the first place? The quick answer is money. Minimalistic designs are preferred by big firms, since they're easier to remember, the print cost can be reduced in some cases, and the ideal aesthetic design for a company is one that is super memorable, based on a few basic colors, and easy to update and add stuff to. Imagine if every update they had to give their new features that classic Web Gloss 2.0 look. They are way too lazy for that nowadays. Who cares if the UI got simplified? They'll still buy it. Your Windows, they have no other options except Mac and Linux. Apple is just as greedy as Windows, and only femboy programmers use Linux, so why bother making designs that are more on the intricate side? I think that those were some of the reasons Frutiger Aero was abandoned, and because no aesthetic ever lasts forever. Who knows? Maybe we'll be nostalgic for Skibbity Toilet Subway Surfer TikToks in a couple of years. Even if Frutiger Aero abruptly ended in the 2010s, its effects can still be felt and seen to this day. It was a monumental design aesthetic for the internet, and so much more. It was era-defining, and the 2000s will always be remembered for that iconic look. Thank you so much for watching the entire video. This one is way longer than most of my usual videos, but I hope you still enjoyed it nonetheless. Also, if at any point you hear a cat just absolutely howling in the background of the video, Yeah, that was my cat. He was wanting some attention. I guess I gotta pet him for 5 hours now. Well, let me know what you thought of the video and bye bye!